resistance, it's another day. Billions will kneel and pray. Anything to aid escape from the world so cold and gray.
That's a 9, boy.
Oh, and we're back. Can you believe what happened fucking just days ago?
Fuck.
All of them rested. All of them. They had to call in fucking, like, deputized citizens to take in all the fucking pedophiles.
I never thought we'd live under martial law.
Man.
When they arrested the entire government for fucking children.
Holy fucking shit. I just, like, in the news, and then, like, all of a sudden, like, you know, the anchors on CNN are talking about it, and all of a sudden the fucking militia comes in and fucking grabs them and arrests them for it, too, because they're on the fucking list, and my head just fucking exploded.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding, man. None of that happened, because, you know, that was in the future. And that's what the future I hoped would have happened.
It probably will happen, and this will be applicable.
Yeah.
They'll be listening to the podcast as they go. This is neat because it ties into the book that I bought you. The plan is when they do turn the government over to FEMA.
Yeah.
The people who are listening to this, you know, to us it's fiction, but really we just told the future.
Yeah.
So they're listening to the podcast as they all drive to the post office, right? Where we will go to see the armed postman tell us where we've been sent to work, as you are sent in a different area than your wife.
Yeah.
And you're just, it's like Nazi Germany all over again.
Yeah. Speaking of Nazi Germany, we're continuing our 2-part series on Nazi things. All things Nazi. The Nazi sale. Every Nazi must go.
I did not see that coming. Oh, look, a dolphin.
Got him. It's a proverbial Nazi party.
Got him.
Got him.
Good Lord.
Okay, and in this episode, this week, that you're listening to now, we've got special guest Cho Beans back with us in the studio.
I haven't been here in a while.
It's been a long time.
Hold on, I gotta open this.
You are literally a cat.
Yeah, I am. I am the human example of a cat.
These motherfuckers want my money and they can't have it.
No.
Fuck them. Sorry, yes.
Like, you'll see me every once in a while, and then I'll go into hibernation for about 6 months.
Well, you're the way that I would expect a house cat. You know, you're like hanging out sometimes. Sometimes you want to hang out with them, and you go sit down next to them on the couch, and they're like, fuck you, and they get up and walk away.
Pretty much.
But occasionally they come grace you with their presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Like,
Yeah.
Still pet her tummy.
No.
Okay, so we got
No
Toby
pets.
on the show because when she found out what we were doing on this episode, she was like all on it because she, in her spare time, has a very big fascination, and I know this is going to sound bad, but a fascination with all things related to the Holocaust.
Yeah, like...
But I wouldn't say that, like...
I wouldn't call it a fascination. I would say more interest. It's not like I'm sitting up every night like, Holocaust stuff. No, I'd say more interest.
Interest.
Yeah, it's interesting to me.
But we figured we'd get you on the show because we know you have an interest in it and you know a lot just offhand about our subject today.
Right. What about Joseph?
Well, we haven't revealed it yet, so you watch that catty tongue.
Jose!
But, so this week's episode, if you didn't know it already, you probably saw it on the title card for the episode. I love how we always kind of like dance around the subject, but people can literally look at their phone.
Yeah, shut up,
Like,
stupid.
I want to listen to this shit.
I want to listen to an episode about
Okay, so you
Josef
just
Mengele.
got after me.
Yeah.
But then your title card says what we're going to talk about. So
Yeah.
they already know what we're talking about.
Well, today's episode is about the Totes Angel, a.k.a. the Angel of Death,
Man of many names.
a.k.a. Josef Mengele, a.k.a. Oh, man.
Sao Paulo.
Yeah, a.k.a. Helmut Gregor. He had a lot of names. Well, because later on he was trying to hide from every fucking world police agency and the Mossad.
Jose Mengele.
Yeah. Well, Josef Mengele. Okay. That's our subject today. He's our dude.
Give you some backstory, and then I'll
Let's hear the backstory.
sit in the back seat. He didn't, you know, I would expect somebody that was just as, so goddamn loud. Somebody that was as fucked up as he was in later life to have like a fucked up childhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe get fucked by his uncle or something like that. But he had a great childhood.
Yeah.
He was son of a rich, successful businessman. You know, he was well liked. He had a lot of friends. He had great grades. You know,
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know where it all came from. He, when he finished primary, he went down to the University of Munich, earning his first doctorate in anthropology, and then went on to do postdoctoral work at Frankfurt under Dr. Führer von Verschauer?
Sure. Yep. Sure.
See, we talked about it before the show, and I still fucked it up. Who was, a fully indoctrinated Nazi eugenicist.
Yeah.
And National Socialism always held to the belief that individuals were nothing more than a product of their heredity. Mm-hmm. And von Verschauer was one of these, Nazi scientists who, through his work, seemed to legitimize that assertion.
I mean, you kind of had to feel that way, considering, just to step in real quick, the place that they worked at was named the Institute for Hereditary Biology and Racial Hygiene.
That'll do it every time.
Racial hygiene.
You should have known from the get-go. Like, you imagine, stepping in a time machine, not knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
Going back and knowing just that wording, you would look at it and be like,
ah, fuck me.
Man, none of this is good.
You mean cleansing?
Yeah.
Is that what you're cleansing?
Racial hygiene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. It would affect everybody differently, I think.
Yeah.
Von Verschauer's work, he was mostly involved with the hereditary influences of congenital defects, such as cleft palate. Mengele was an enthusiastic assistant, which to me led me to believe that he was just sucking that dick.
Yeah.
So, when Mengele left his lab in 1938, he left with a few things. One was a glowing recommendation. Second was a second doctorate in medicine and semen on either side of his mouth.
Nice.
From his time under the desk.
He was very enthusiastic, I must say. He has a very enthusiastic attitude.
Yeah. He was very, very much like the guy we talked about in the last episode, one of the guys that they saved from justice, where he joined the Nazi Party at 26, and then he also willingly joined the SS. He was called up to combat called up for military service in 1940. In 1941, his unit was deployed to Ukraine in a combat role where his actions earned him various medals and accommodations, being declared a hero when he drugged several wounded soldiers from a burning tank. In January 1943, during the meat grinder offensive at Rostov, Mengele was badly wounded and declared unfit for combat. He was shipped to Germany for a swift but subtle mouth-fucking as he ran into his old mentor, von Verschauer. He received a wound badge and was promoted to the rank of captain. And then he was given the dream job that every statist lusts for, which is being a medical officer in Auschwitz.
Yeah. So, yeah. Doctor in anthropology and medicine.
Yes.
Right? So the study of humans and their behaviors.
Yes.
And the study of human biology mixed together. Makes for a amazing combination.
But also a shit show.
The absolute shit show. Especially when you think about... Imagine the anthropology department at Munich University in 1934.
Yeah, right.
Jesus wept. Oh my God. Do you imagine the amount of fuck shit that was going on in that fucking place in that time? For real. Okay, so... Like you said before, he came from a rich family. They made farm machinery. And the funny part is, nice little side note, Mengele is still a company in Germany that makes farm equipment.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
So in theory, Bones of Tubbs Nation, if you wanted to give us a cheeky gift, it would definitely be a Mengele tractor.
Where am I going to put a Mengele tractor?
Oh, it's going to sit right in the backyard.
No.
Yeah. I put
With a tent over it, so it keeps it nice and shiny and clean.
I have a piece of property that's shaped like a pie piece, like a slice of pie. We could put it right at the tip.
Yeah.
We just
Right at the tip.
have to drive through the yard to get out of the driveway, but nice
Every time,
Mengele tractor.
yeah,
there.
every time someone comes over the house, be like, "Have you seen my Mengele tractor?"
I see you're noticing my Mengele. Would you like to touch
This is
it?
a fine piece of equipment.
Just call me uncle.
But like you said, he excelled in school. Excellent student.
Yeah.
Excellent student.
Okay.
What?
Just because he was a good student doesn't mean he was sucking dick.
They come for the facts. They stay for the sound effects, okay?
Well, he graduated summa cum laude, so that means that he was a good student and he sucked on that girl.
Yeah. It's a different time, and it was in Germany. You have to remember that.
Yeah.
Germans are freaks. But,
And he made the ring captain, I'm just saying.
yeah. He didn't just do that on his own volition.
No.
Okay, so he also liked music and skiing.
Yeah, got
No,
him.
that's legit, though. He liked skiing.
Yeah, 2 guys at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he was on that shit.
You like bowls?
I love to bowl.
But he, at first, he joined a militia out of Munich that wasn't part of the Nazis yet. This is in 1934. But they were absorbed by the Nazis, like 2 years later.
Thank God. I love it when a good plan comes together.
Yeah, it was absorbed by the SA. And then eventually he joined the SS.
Yes.
He went to work, like you said, for the Institute of Hereditary Biology and Racial Hygiene.
Cleansing.
Cleansing.
Whenever I hear hygiene, I think of toothpaste. I hate that they named it hygiene.
And he took a particular interest in the study of children. Like you said, cleft palates, cleft...
Yeah, he wrote a
cleft
paper.
lips.
That was what his PhD was in.
Yeah.
He actually wrote a paper that was a study of the jaw lines and the way the jaw was shaped among races. So you could tell hereditary and race lines by your jaw. And
Well, luckily, he had a lot of slaves to carve jaws out of in Auschwitz to prove his theories, or at least try to prove them.
Yeah.
You know?
So he had a particular...
luck on his side.
He already had an interest in studying children and childhood genetic diseases and stuff like that from the get.
Well, they believed children were the goal. They were basically what the Aryan race would be.
Yeah.
So they were the way to get the perfect Aryan race.
Side note, around this time when he's still working for them, he did marry to Eileen Schlobein. They had one child together named Rolf in 1944.
Sounds like a child made of
So, like,
missionary-style sex.
yeah. He shall be Rolf.
Rob.
He shall be a good boy. He shall be strong.
And I'll only see him like twice in
I
his
will.
adult life.
I will consider him from afar.
So basically, like, he was fully, like, full bore into the ideas. Like, it's like, it was almost like a perfect meeting of his, like, way of thinking when it came to medicine and being a doctor. And, like, the nexus meets at the German way of thinking with, like, pan-Germanism and the notion of, like, superiority. And also the notions of Lebensraum, which was a big thing in Nazi Germany. Lebensraum translating to living space. Mm-hmm. They believed that, like, the reason that the German people were suffering was because they simply did not have enough room, and they needed more of it.
That makes sense.
And so he joined the SS in 1938. Officially joined the Nazis. Well, not joined the Nazi Party in 1937, even though he was part of the SA group all the way back to 1934.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is his number. He had, like, every Nazi soldier or Nazi party member had a number. And his number was, like, I can pull it up right now. His Nazi party number was 5,574,974. So 5,574,974. And then his SS number was 317,885. So that means 317,000 people before him had joined.
I wonder if he had to get a tattoo on his arm of that.
He did not have the tattoo.
I think only the Jews got those, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting at.
Well,
yeah. Well, okay, but here's the...
He did not have the Nazi blood tattoo.
Well, that's the thing. That'll come up later, because if anybody didn't know out there, the SS, generally speaking, SS officers and SF paramilitary had a tattoo on them as well, and it was their blood group type. It was tattooed...
I think on their side or their arm.
It was on their side.
Yeah.
So, like, when the war was over and they were, like, trying to figure out who's who, and they wanted to find the SS first, they would take the POWs and they'd make them take their shirts off and then walk through with their arms up like this.
And see, that was not the best way to find out who the SS were, because a lot of them didn't have it.
I.e. Mengele.
I.e., that's how he got out.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that more.
Okay, so, like you said before, he was awarded the Iron Cross for pulling 2 soldiers out of a burning tank.
Bravery.
Yeah. He was wounded in Rostov on Don, and I found out that's in Russia.
Russia.
Unfit for service.
Yes.
He was hurt bad enough. Sent back to the institute where he worked before. That's when he was promoted to Hauptsturmführer, the captain. But we actually talked about that in the last episode, and I fucked it up then. Hauptsturmführer is captain.
I see.
Right, yeah. But yeah, he started working in 1942 helping out with the quote-unquote selections department.
Yeah.
And that might sound like a fairly innocuous position. If you're anywhere else in the world and your job was in the selections department,
Just not Auschwitz.
yeah, as I say, any like that title anywhere else in any other part of the world at any given time probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. You know what I mean?
See, I got a note here about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
The selections department basically was where the new shipments of Jew prisoners or Gypsy prisoners or whoever it might be were, guests at Auschwitz. They would show up, and they were selected based on who would go into the labor and who would just be gassed immediately.
Yeah.
Most of the doctors, I should say every doctor that was in that part of the camp had to take turns
And
working the
I read
selections
this.
department.
Yeah.
And most of them fucking hated it.
Yeah, they said it was horrible.
They were depressed. It was a depressing position.
Yeah.
It was a factory of sadness.
And
So luckily for them, he was there because he fucking loved
he
it.
loved it.
He would take their shifts. He would do as much overtime as they allowed.
And they said he would fucking walk around with a big stupid fucking smile on his face.
Yeah.
And he would whistle tunes while he was doing it. What a sadistic fucking turd, man.
I like to go through my description of him real quick.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the smile. Accounts later given by both survivors and guards describe Mengele as an enthusiastic member of the staff. He worked as much overtime as they would physically allow him to. He always had a perfectly pressed uniform and was described as seeming to be everywhere at once, often undertaking operations that were well above his pay grade. He always had a slight smile, they said. He was truly in his element.
Yes. And when he was transferred to Auschwitz-Birkenau, he basically got carte blanche on his studies into genetic research, taking a particularly strong interest in identical twins.
Oh, yeah. He loved them. He loved doing stuff to them.
Oh, yeah.
But
Injecting chloroform into their hearts.
14 in one night.
yeah. But like
Sleepless.
you said, he loved taking on
hard
extra
work.
shifts and doing work that necessarily wasn't his duties. Like one of them was, say a laborer got sick or hurt. They would take them to the hospital, like the hospital in the camp, and they give them 2 weeks to recover. If they couldn't recover in 2 weeks, if they couldn't recover in 2 weeks, gone. Right? So that really wasn't his job either.
No.
But he did it anyways.
He kind of just waltzed in there because another one of his jobs was to oversee the gas, the Zyklon B, in one of the crematoriums. And they had a little pathology lab in crematorium too. So he could freaking go in and find whatever he wanted to and say, we're going to put them in that gas chamber, and then pull them before they were taken to the crematorium and do whatever he wanted to.
Yeah.
So he had an exclusive pool of experiments right there. Like, you're pregnant and you have 2 different color eyes. Perfect.
Not anymore.
He just like jizzed in his pants
Yeah,
when he saw that.
Heavy breathing.
Yeah. I would just like to have seen the whatever laboratory in Germany took some of these things, because he would just rip out dudes' eyes.
And then send them to laboratories in Germany and stuff like
jawbones,
that.
Yeah.
dead bodies, parts of
Heads.
dead body, heads.
You imagine being in like a department and you like all of a sudden you get a package and you look at the address and you're like, fuck man, it's another one from that fucking goofball. And they open
Fucking
it up
Mengele.
and it's just it's a box full of like dicks.
Yeah.
Like preserved cocks.
Right.
And he's like, I think he's doing this on purpose now.
These all have his saliva on them.
And,
Yeah.
and the fact was he labeled the boxes that he was sending urgent war materials. And so, when they were opening, they're like, oh, Jesus Christ, urgent war materials. Fuck this, man.
Son of a bitch. I had 2 other stories, too, from his time that he spent at the selection department, where I guess there was this little Jew boy that a lot of the guards had taken partiality to. But the doctors, I should say, took partiality to, and they were trying to decide whether or not he had tuberculosis. So Mengele, figured the best way to do that would be to shoot him in the head and rip his body apart, and found out that he didn't have tuberculosis. So then he went and told him.
So the best way was to...
Most thorough way.
Yeah.
And
you got to get it all. You got to make sure.
my other favorite story, my last one, then I'll shut the fuck up, was he was an angry motherfucker, too. Which is weird, because everybody said he always had a smile on his face, but when he was overseeing the selection process, there was a mother and daughter that refused to be separated. So what he did was he killed both of them, and then he had everybody in that shipment gassed.
Yeah. That's what they would do.
No problem.
Yeah, he wasn't the
He
only
was
one
like-
that would do that.
They're like, please don't separate me. And he's like, you're making me feel human.
Bang, bang!
Yeah.
Gas, 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 gas.
Well, the little side story, there was the pseudo commando that would take care of all the bodies out of the crematorium. And there was a story where they had teams of them, and they're like, at one of the crematoriums, they're like, we're not doing this anymore. So they overthrew the crematorium and they destroyed it. So in retaliation, it was only a couple of them that did that. In retaliation, the Nazis completely killed all of the pseudo commando in that team. So the other crematorium pseudo commandos were like, we just got to keep our heads down, because they were afraid they were going to retaliate against them. And they did. They would, if they would see a pseudo commando worker from another crematorium, they would just shoot them. Be like, it's because of what your friends did.
Yeah.
So the thing was so many of the Jewish community didn't want to uprise in Auschwitz, because they would be, if you uprose, you would be shot, you'd be killed, but your whole bunk or your whole family or whoever was there, they would retaliate against you. So it was worse for them than you. You would just be shot.
Yeah.
But they would completely obliterate anybody that was near you.
Torture the fuck out of your loved ones.
Oh, yeah.
He was made the head physician at the Romani family camp located in Birkenau.
Little gangrene in there.
Family practice.
Yeah.
Little gangrene.
Yeah, he liked, there was a study of this disease called noma that was a gangrene of the mouth that he had a particular fascination in.
And the whole camp had it.
Yeah.
And it was probably the conditions.
Typhus outbreak in one of the huts. So this is his line of thinking. This cocksucker. His line of thinking was, okay, so we have a typhus outbreak in the entire camp. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take this hut and we're going to kill everybody in it. Women and children.
You have to.
Mind you. We're going to kill everybody in there. I want you to delouse it, disinfect it, and clean it. And then we're going to start going hut to hut, and we're going to find the ones that are infected, and we're going to kill them. And then we're going to clear out hut to hut, clean them out, right? And then
what he did was he took that original hut.
Hygiene.
That
right?
was 600, and he murdered them.
well, he needed a spare
Yeah,
hut.
so he needed a spare hut. So he just would take the previous hut
I don't see the problem.
and then move them to the next hut. And then whenever an outbreak would happen, they would just use that method.
He did it multiple times,
Yeah.
for different outbreaks. And I just wanted to point this out there, that this just goes to prove that, as far as I'm concerned, most war medals don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Because he received the War Merit Cross.
You
saved
us.
For his saving the camps from the outbreak. Saving. Let's air quote this. Saving.
Which makes no sense because they were going to kill him anyway. So
But saving the camp, right?
Yeah,
Physically, like the physical camp.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, it's all about
you
wordplay.
saved our structures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get a
did
medal.
Very good job getting the dirty germs out.
But yeah, so he had a big interest in identical twins, and a lot of that had to do with the fact of, at the time, there hadn't been side-to-side autopsies done on twins.
Yeah.
It just was impossible. You couldn't get one to die right next to the other one, right?
It was possible. Just improbable.
It was pesky complications of
Anything's
of
possible if you're-
motherfuckers living in shit.
And
if you're
murder
brave
and,
enough.
Yeah. So
human decency.
he also had a big interest in heterochromia iridemia, which is two different colored eyes. And he would do experiments with them, trying to inject chemical dyes and stuff into their eyes to see if he could change the color of eyes and stuff like that.
Because that's how you do it.
Interesting.
Because it just sounds like a kid fucking around with a magnifying glass and ants at this point.
Well, I mean, basically...
And that's what he was doing. Because
Right.
they had no... Because unfortunately, as much as the Germans wanted to say, oh, we're structured, we have great structure. No, they weren't. They would let people do whatever because they couldn't control all
Like I
of them.
said, he was given carte blanche. He was given
So-
whatever the fuck he wanted to do, he was going to fucking do it.
I feel like that meeting went basically like, hey, don't burn it down. Don't cause any issues. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. So he also had interest in dwarfs as well.
Who doesn't? They're so cute and cheeky.
Oh my god. And other physical abnormalities.
I would say fascination of dwarves.
But it all was trying to, basically all this research he was doing with them was trying to back his notions of racial superiority over other races of people.
So do we know exactly what experience he would do on the dwarves? Because I couldn't I couldn't pinpoint that, but I think I
have a feeling
know.
he's probably just killing them.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he tickled any of them?
Well, they did call him Uncle Josef, so...
Uncle Josef.
Come to Uncle Joseph, I give you the tickles.
Yeah.
He tickled him with a fucking swastika dildo that he had.
I love that we're so happy and cheeky about this. Let me tell you something. We are being, I would say, the highest forms of facetiousness and irony that I could fucking muster.
If you can't talk about it like
and that's
you
the thing.
can't talk about it.
Listen, you guys wouldn't be able to listen to this if we didn't try to like have some gallows humor about the shit. Because here's the thing: this is some grim fucking shit.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, on spring break this year, I sat and watched that documentary, and I would be in tears. Like the end of it, I would just be in tears because
here's the thing.
it left you so hollow.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like, and this is the only reason I'm saying this is so that people that are listening, say we have a new listener who's this is their first episode they picked up on, they're like, these motherfuckers are joking about the fucking Holocaust. No.
Negative.
Yeah, you'd have to listen to some more episodes to realize the thing is like, it's just like Stanley Kubrick. He couldn't make an actual Holocaust film, so he made The Shining.
Right.
But anyways, that's another other thing.
The only thing that gives me any amount of calm with the Nazis that we, you know, not we, but the United States saved from justice and getting immediately shot in the face is the fact that I just listened to a Mark Passio about the afterlife, what his views are on afterlife.
Yeah.
Basically, imagine a DMT trip
Yeah.
that lasts an infinitesimal amount of time, right? And if you were one of these cocksuckers that's just involved in all manner of fuck shit,
Yeah.
you know, anybody that's done psychedelics knows that there's something going on over there.
Yeah.
These are entities that you're communicating with, right? And if you're going into that shit with a bad, fucked up mindset, you're having a real bad time.
Yeah.
So they're going to be over there getting fucking tortured in the fourth dimension for a very long time.
But so he was really good. Like, okay, he was very. They had the children that he experimented on separate from the rest of the camp, right? They even had a playground. They had all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
They ate better. They had better clothes.
They gave them toys.
He gave them chocolate and sweets. They call him Uncle Josef. And the thing is, none of this was because he was a good guy. He did this so that when it was time for him to do an experiment, they wouldn't object to going with him.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be afraid of him.
Trust
Because
the
nobody
motherfucker.
wants to deal with a tantrum.
But he's like, hey, you want to come with me? I'll show you some new stuff.
They're not.
Okay, Uncle Josef, I'll come with you.
You're not coming back.
Yeah.
Or if you did come back, you'd be a minus a couple things.
A husk.
Without an arm.
One of his few of his favorite things to do was unnecessary amputations.
Yeah.
I bet you that was probably some of the dwarf shit.
Yeah, probably.
He
How
would,
little can we make this person?
Right. Fuck.
he would check fertility. He would infect twins with typhus. He would okay. So what he would do is he'd infect one twin with typhus, right? Mm-hmm. And wait, and then take the blood of that twin and inject it into the other twin to see how it works. And then of course they both die, and then he would do a side-by-side autopsy, a comparison
What a
autopsy.
fucking bastard.
Yeah.
His point was to prove hereditary lines. Like, they were greater than others.
Yeah. He
The whole point.
but
If you just wait a couple of years, we'll figure that out with DNA testing
he
later
also,
on. But
he also
you know,
thoroughly
whatever.
enjoyed doing experiments on pregnant women.
Oh yeah.
And
And then gassing them.
then gassing them. He liked, and this kind of ties into the stuff we were talking about in the last episode with Unit 731, what the Japanese were doing, which is kind of like, imagine Josef Mengele, but imagine an entire facility of Josef Mengele's, and you have what they were doing at Unit 71 in China. Yeah. One of his most renownedly disgusting experiments he did was he took two twins and he sewed them together. Basically, like the prequel to fucking Human Centipede, more or less. And was trying to conjoin. He was trying to make a set of conjoined twins. And they both died of gangrene, of course.
ATM, or how was he doing it?
I imagine side to side.
Okay.
I hope it was an ATM. God, I hope it wasn't.
I was, for some reason, thinking back to back, and I'm like, oh.
Wait a minute.
Take it to 1945. Josef Mengele on the run.
Yeah.
He knows it. Every Nazi knows it. Time to go, because...
He was like on, I think it was January 11th. It was 10 days in between him running and when the Red Army came in. So he was like, I gots to go.
Bounce. Bounce,
So-
bounce, bounce, bounce.
He bounced to another place.
Yeah.
And when he got there, he's like, Red Army's still coming.
Taking specimens with him the whole time. We're talking like suitcases full of fucking body parts and shit.
Well, think about all the sensitive war material that he had yet to send to Germany for testing.
He left some of his most important documents with, I think it was a nurse. I don't know if he was that was his mistress at the time, but he left his most important documents with a nurse. And my thing is like, he's on the run and he's just like, here, have these documents because
Take them from me.
I gotta go. So after he got to the second place, after he escaped Auschwitz, he knew the Red Army was still coming. So he left there again. And it was like within a week, the Red Army was there. A week before the Red Army came, he was gone. So the chances of him getting caught, he was so close to getting caught. We were just a little too late.
They said he was even stopped by an Allied patrol at one time.
Oh, yeah. And because he didn't have the tattoo.
Yeah.
They
They're
let him
like,
go.
and because a lot of it was after all of it happened, there was a lot of trying to find the SS, and there were so many of them that a lot of them slipped through the cracks.
You gotta imagine, it's an incredibly chaotic time. You know, it's a war.
Yeah.
Right? There's a war still going on. You're trying to, like, okay, so the Allies knew some fuck shit was going on. They knew there was some fucking concentration camp, like, they knew there was some other shit going on that was bad, right? They didn't know the extent, because in all reality, they weren't really leaking it to the public that this was going on. But they knew it was going on.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew the extent.
No,
I don't think they realized
totally shocked
that
when
the
they got there.
Auschwitz-Birkenau camp is fucking gigantic. We're talking about, like, how many sites?
It was like there was three main Auschwitz. There was Auschwitz, Auschwitz-Birkenau, and then Auschwitz-Monowitz. And there were the three main camps. And then Auschwitz was the main camp, though. And then off of Auschwitz, because of the area and because of they wanted so much slave labor, they made over 100 sub-camps just around it.
Shit the bed.
It was massive. And so when you're
Oh my God,
processing
it's so fucking big.
when you're processing thousands upon thousands of people that have been victims, you're not only processing those people, you're trying to find out the people that did it. So the confusion was there. So when they stopped Mengele, they're like, okay, he doesn't have a tattoo. He says he's not an SS. Okay, go. We got other things to do.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you gotta think, like, they're coming up on these camps, and they're just like, okay, imagine, like, just even the Red Army was fucking taken
They didn't
aback.
know. They didn't know.
They were taken aback by it because they were like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Soviets. Hard motherfuckers.
and
Yeah.
the sad,
They've endured some shit.
They wiped their ass with sandpaper.
the saddest part to me about them finding them finding them was they were like stuffing food in their faces, like, here, take my cigarettes, take my gum, take my food, and they were killing them. So not only were they dying because of what the Germans had done, they were dying because the armies were coming in and thinking, we need to feed them, they need food, but because they had been so
deprived
of
long.
nutrients, it was killing them.
Fuck.
So
So you had that going on for you too.
there's a lot of chaos.
Apparently, we were hugging them too hard.
Because, like,
We
they're
give them
coming
cigarettes.
in, and they're coming into these camps and just seeing, like I said, if it takes the Red Army aback to see these atrocities, then you know it's bad.
But yeah, we still had people in our country that were sending them support that, like, were just sitting back at a fucking leather chair enjoying it, like the IBM company was sending them fucking computers to track the Jews throughout the camps.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn fucking Allied soldiers or just order followers are shocked as fuck, but we got people in fucking office buildings that are like, they're on to us, fuck.
They're like, how are we supposed to know that's what they were doing? Shut the
fuck up.
Well, we need a tracking system for what? Oh, don't worry about
They're
it.
just trying to track
So-
them from place to place.
Basically, Mengele avoids detection. and he gets to a Red Cross station, and he manages to get himself a passport under the name Helmut Gregor. Okay. He uses this passport to go to Argentina, the vacation getaway of a lot of Nazis.
Vacation all that.
Pretty much.
So he goes to Argentina, and here's the thing.
And see, he didn't go to Argentina until he did not. Here's what's crazy. So all this happened in 1945. He did not flee to Argentina until 1949. So he's been floating around there for 4 years. And the thing is they're asking where he's at, and his family's like, "Oh, he's dead."
Right.
And they're like, they're not questioning it. They're
They're
like, "Oh, he's dead. That's fine." But people are like, "No, he's alive." I'm like, "No, he's dead. He's dead." But in 1949, he's like, "I probably should get out of here."
So we know the facts now, but for all intents and purposes, as I was doing my research, I found that people at the time saw Mengele as some sort of like Nazi Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Like there was myths. Oh, there's a report he was in Greece. There's a report he was in fucking Italy. There's a report he's still in Germany.
He went back for his records too. Like he went back to
Told you how much men love those lists while they're
the
shitting.
Soviet occupied area. While all this is going on, he went back for his records, and people are like, "No, he's still out there." No, he's dead. Dead.
So when he did finally go to Argentina, he worked as a carpenter for a while. Then he moved, and I just don't understand how he avoided capture. Because if you think about like other ones that got captured, like Adolf Eichmann and stuff like that, like that dude was trying to hide. Mm-hmm. Adolf Eichmann was hiding.
Mengele was just out in the open.
Mengele was out in the open.
And not only that, he divorced his wife too. Because his wife refused to go with. So there's a paper trail. So at some point he had to file for divorce. So you're telling me this guy filed for divorce, and somebody's like, Josef
okay,
Mengele.
so get this.
Can't be the same one. That
He's
guy's
dead.
Yeah.
He's dead.
He is at the time.
Must have a brother.
This is in the 50s and 60s. He is living in South America, working as a salesman for the Mengele Farming Company,
Yeah, no problem.
using his name.
Still want that tractor?
Maybe Mengele was like a Smith, you know? Or a Thomas.
Like the Argentinian equivalent of Smith.
Yeah.
Hey, there's tons of Mengeles.
Why are you such a negative Nancy?
And like I said, he was the Nazi Sasquatch. They looked for him everywhere. Where they had found others like Eichmann and then there was a few others like Haas and people like that.
They found Haas, but Haas never left Germany.
And
you know,
that I know of.
They spent years finding these Nazis, right? They could never pin down Mengele. For some reason, even though he was using his regular name, he had fake names, but he used his regular name just as much as anybody else. He cashed checks in his name.
And he he obtained a West German passport because West German passport. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
He went to Switzerland.
Yeah, he went on a skiing
on a ski holiday in Switzerland.
A lot of these countries were friendly to Nazis, though.
Yeah. His son, Rolf, I don't think they were ever really like, because I think Rolf actually had some sort of conscience.
Yeah.
Like he was like, well, he was born in 44, so you can't lay anything at Rolf's feet. And plus, here's the other thing, like you could have been like, well, why didn't Rolf turn his dad in? Well, there you have it in the actual words that I said. It was his dad.
Plus, how much did that motherfucker know about what his dad was up to?
Well, and this is the thing.
I think he knew because when he went back to see him for one last time.
Well, he said that his dad was unrepentant.
Yeah, he was like a Nazi unrepentant. He felt no guilt for what he had done.
I bet he does now. In the fourth dimension, getting tortured in ways we can't conceive.
I'm just going to keep using your bones.
Well, that goes back to, as I said, that goes back to some irony I want to wrap up this whole Mengele thing with. So his son said he was unrepentant. And he would just bounce around South America basically for the rest of his life. Evaded capture. And then he was at a resort with some friends of his. Like I said, he had friends. That was the big life, the lifeline to him was the fact that he had support in South America that he could just bounce around to, right?
And I feel like a lot of his friends he was using as like names because some of the friends they would give him his identification
they
card.
would give him passports and stuff.
And be like... And so that's why he was buried under a different name because he was using a different person's name. Yeah.
So basically, he was at this resort. He wasn't in good health at the time.
He decided to go for a swim.
He had previously had a stroke.
Yeah. He decided to go for a swim. He was in the water, had a stroke, fucking died.
Found a stroke out there.
Fucking died in the ocean, right? So he gets buried under a different name. Well,
Sao Paulo.
then comes it was in 1980.
85-ish.
Yeah, 85. They exhume his body. And initial tests are finding that it's him. It wasn't until 1992 that DNA evidence made it conclusive that that was in fact Josef Mengele. So after that, they found out it was him. His family's like, well, we want his body back to be buried in the family tomb.
Nope.
And this is what I love the Brazilian authorities for. Because they're like, no,
Yeah.
you can't have it back.
We're going to use it for research.
Yeah, so his bones still lie in the Sao Paulo Institute for Forensic Medicine. They use them for forensic students to study.
Oh, isn't it just...
It's so, it oozes with irony that this motherfucker became a medical... It pisses me off that he got to live so many years in abject... you would assume some abject happiness, considering the things he did.
Yeah.
But it seems like there is some level of karmic justice, at least on the material plane in this, where he is a specimen just like all the specimens he created before him.
Right.
So he got 34 more years
After. Think about it. Nobody could ever cite any research of his because of how horrible of a human being he was.
And see, the crazy part is in 1959, so 10 years after he left Germany, they know, like, he's been applying for citizenship, he's been applying for passports, so somebody has to know he's out there. In 1959, he is involved in an investigation where a girl had died because she had had an abortion. And there were records indicating that Mengele was down in South America doing abortions, illegal abortions on women, and one of them died. And when she died, they started an investigation. He's again like, I gotta bounce.
Yeah.
So he bounced out of that situation.
He paid the judge off, right? I read that the judge
he was bribed. There was just so many coincidental things. Like, he should have been caught.
Right.
There were too many, like, he slipped through the cracks too many times.
Have you guys ever heard of the book or movie called The Boys from Brazil?
The boys? No.
The Boys. That Boys from Brazil.
That boy.
Boys.
So it was
Frog
made.
faces.
The book and the movie were both made in the 70s, right? And the premise is that, mind you, this is before we knew it. That, like I said, this kind of plays on the Nazi Sasquatch thing. The premise is that Josef Mengele escaped to South America, into Brazil, and he did these experiments where he impregnated women with a ovum of a cloned Adolf Hitler.
Jesus Christ.
And there's like this secret organization that wants to resurrect Hitler, right? So they try to replicate his lifestyle growing up in different parts of the world to try to like foster the new rise of Hitler, right? It's a good movie. It has Gregory Peck. He plays Josef Mengele in it. I watched it when I was a kid. You know, I didn't understand a lot of it back then. I knew he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when you realize, at what age you realize that the term Nazi or anything associated with Nazi means bad.
I did pretty early, but that was the Wolfenstein 3D.
As I say, that, or if you've watched fucking Indiana Jones. Like, I knew from a young age, Nazis bad because Indiana Jones fucking hates Nazis.
That's just because you listen to Jewish propaganda.
No, I'm pretty sure it's because they fucking killed a lot of fucking people.
Right.
Like, and this is the thing where, like, this is where I'm going to blast at Holocaust deniers and stuff. Because the thing is, it's like, this goes way against my fucking conspiracy theory equation. Okay? There's too many goddamn people involved. And the one thing is, if it was from one ethnic group saying it happened, it might still fall into that realm, but the problem the problem. It's not. You've got You've got Jewish, you've got Romani, you've got Poles, you've
Gypsies.
got Romani or Gypsies.
Okay, well, still, not everyone knows
get
Romani.
that sass out of your system.
I'm getting sassy.
Get that sass out of your system.
Sasstown over there in the Sassing district.
Gypsies.
You got all
political
these people.
prisoners.
You have
Soviets, communists,
actual Nazis admitting the fact, like that one guy who's a cockbag that we were watching that documentary about.
Yeah, he's like, we did it.
Yeah. And his whole thing is, he's like, I don't regret what we did. He's like, but I wouldn't want it to happen again. And he's like, that's the reason. Because he kind of came out. He's like, anybody that says that the Holocaust didn't happen is basically said they were full of shit.
I think the only truth behind the Holocaust deniers' argument is the numbers, because the Jews try to hold. I shouldn't say the Jews, but the Zionists that want to parade the Holocaust around as a justification for the things they're doing today, they're saying 6 million Jews.
Yeah.
No. I don't believe it was 6 million.
But see, the thing
6
is,
million
like,
people, maybe,
Well,
but not 6 million
They're
Jews.
coming out, like, the thing is with the numbers, is the Nazis kept a very, very good record of how many they deported. And I don't know if they killed them all, but the deportation records say, like, in Auschwitz, in 1 year, they deported 2 million people to Auschwitz.
But here's the other thing that you got to remember is, although they were thorough with paperwork and stuff like that, towards the end of the war, they were trying to destroy the evidence of what they had done.
Right.
So knowing exactly how many people died, see, that's where I think, people argue about numbers and stuff. As far as I'm concerned, the proof is in the pudding. The numbers don't really matter to me. It happened.
The only reason I mention that is it pisses me off that they try to use 6 million Jews as a
justification for their Zionist policies.
Yeah, that's not.
They
And it
only
wasn't
use
just-
that because it's biblical prophecy. That they're trying to line up the Holocaust with biblical prophecy. That's my only problem with it. When you're completely shitting on everybody else that was killed and murdered.
Because it was more than just the Jews. It was like
Killed
12
and
million.
Killed and tortured.
12 million people.
Right.
And the thing is like, we don't know exactly if that's the number because they're finding more and more mass graves just in the middle of fields where they had dug just huge ditches.
We're talking about, and so many different groups of people. We're talking about everything from Jews,
Homosexuals,
gypsies,
Freemasons,
homosexuals, Freemasons, communists,
disabled.
socialists, the disabled,
mentally ill.
people with red hair. I made that up.
criminals. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
whoever he didn't like at the time, whoever that was not his favorite, he would
And it's hard
kill
to
him.
keep track of the numbers because, first of all, basically more or less, I think, what was it, after 1935, 36, the Nazis stripped all Jewish citizens of their citizenship in the first place.
Yeah.
So being able to keep solid numbers on it and track who's who got killed and who got killed where is about damn near impossible.
They tried because they would have their papers. Like the thing of it is like the whole point to be Jewish, you had to have so many relatives that were Jewish. So the thing is you had to be 1/4 Jewish to not be considered Jewish. So if you were anything more than 1/4, you were Jewish. So if you had one Jewish grandparent, you were screwed.
You're fucked,
Yeah,
Gary.
basically. Yeah. So they had records of that. Like the Germans went in to the records and could tell the hereditary lines from the records. So that's how they knew you were Jewish or not. And you could have no clue. Like if you didn't have connections with your grandparents and your parents never talked about it, but then they're like, "Oh, you're Jewish." Well, no, we're not. We don't practice the religion. We don't believe in that. No, you're Jewish. Your grandparent was Jewish.
Yeah.
So it was very hard for the Jewish people to prove that they weren't. So they had those records. Those records helped them move people out.
Yeah.
So at one point in the ghettos, there were 80,000 people, and they deported all of them to Auschwitz and only left 15,000 people.
Jeez.
So they were keeping those records because they were trying to get, their end goal was to get as many Jews as they could.
Yeah.
They didn't care how. Well, they cared how, but they were getting as many as they could.
So I think that about wraps it up for the episode.
It's good. I'm about to pass the fuck out.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's hot.
Here. We'd like to thank you all for listening. We'd like to thank Tobeans for coming on the show. She gave us a lot. She got a lot. She's got a lot of info.
Gave us some information, some
Yeah.
sass, some cat fur.
I always bring the sass.
But
sass.
Oops,
Sauce.
I just
you just knocked on the table and made all
Sass!
sorts of noises.
sorry. That's me.
Go check out our Instagram, our Facebook. Go check out that Patreon.
Please do.
Yeah,
Please.
go check out that Patreon.
Please do.
Help us get out of our
Yeah. Hey,
slave job.
leave us a review. Send us a screenshot. bonesandtubs@gmail.com.
Leave a review on iTunes.
get
Leave
that-
a review on Stitcher.
You get that free shit.
Get some of that free stick of sauce.
It could be some nasty shit. It could be a fucking dirty, mean fucking review. I mean,
I would really like it if they were all 5-star reviews, but then you talked about how I was a fucking piece of shit. You know?
What do you mean?
Like if they just wrote like a 5-star review and they're like, "Fuck these motherfuckers,"
Yeah.
you know? Like
The only thing I enjoyed is the sound quality.
yeah, I hated everything about it. 5 stars.
Yeah. So we'd like to thank you all for listening, and we'd like to thank Ryan Simpson for letting us use his music on the show.
Beautiful bitch.
We'll hope you tune in next time, and we'll see you then.
We love you.
We really do.